Paint effects are a great way to get into creating trees and stuff that you can actually use the effects that have the presets in there, just like we did with the effects presets when we were making the lightning and the fire, without having to physically go in there and change a lot of the settings and make all kinds of different things to get it to look like fire and act like fire. They were presets. So the paint effects have the same type of technique, same type of setup when it comes to that, but they also have creation setups so that you're going to see some of these things. You can add branches, you can add leaves and such. One of the easiest ways to get there is to go to your menu set. Under your menu set, go down to rendering, and you're going to see that we have a menu set in rendering or under rendering called Paint Effects. When you come up to Paint Effects, you're going to drop that down, and we're going to have a Paint Effects tool. I like to go to the option box here and click on that. You're going to see that we have a lot of different settings here for pressure maps, and you're going to see that these three are off, but the display quality is set to 100, and we could paint at depth, draw as mesh, and draw as mesh is the one that we're going to be using, so we really don't need to change anything in here. Just know that we have this and we can change any of the brushes as we see fit. So the tool settings I'm just going to close. We're going to leave them at their natural settings, and I'm going to come up here to Paint Effects, and I'm going to go down to Get Brush. Get Brush opens up what's called the visor. Now, if you forget where the paint effects are, you can get to the visor by going up to Window, down to General Editors, and you're going to find the visor. The visor is going to have a bunch of different things in here, like hair examples, fluids, oceans, tune examples, end cloth, all sorts of different things. But the only thing we need to focus on right now is going to be the type of brush that we're going to use for a paint effect. So if I come down, I'm going to find something that's simple, like the grass. So I'm going to click on the grasses, come over here to find slimeweed. Okay, sounds interesting enough. I'm going to click that. Once you have it selected, you're going to see that we can come over here to our scene, and I have my little tool here. I'm going to zoom in. I'm just going to dolly this camera in. I'm going to click and drag a little bit, and you're going to see as I drag, I'm just going in circles because I'm trying to draw out the one plant. Okay? Because you could draw plants out like this and have multiple ones. I don't need those because paint effects, you're going to see, are made of a lot of polygons, and they can get very heavy very fast. So I'm going to hit 6 on my keyboard to show them in their textured mode, and I can move these, I can place them wherever I need to place them, I can animate them to move around and follow along with some of the effects that are going to be driving them. The first thing I'm going to do is just hide the grid, so I'm going to go up to Display, click on Grid, now it's hidden, and I'm going to give myself some more time down here in my timeline. So the second to last box here, the one that says 24, I'm going to type in something like 500, something large, and that's going to allow me to make some changes here. Now, when I've done that, you're going to see that this is already selected, the stroke slimeweed 1. I'm going to go up to Window, down to Outliner, so that you guys can see that I have a stroke, and that's the effect, and it's based off of a curve. So another NURBS curve that allows us to draw the curve on there and create this weed. Now coming over here, I can scroll down in the channel box. You're going to see the stroke shape slime weed 1. We have seed. You can play with a few of these settings. Sometimes the seed does something different, like add some little leaves and stuff like that to it. Each one of these paint effects have different settings, and some of the settings that are similar affect them in different ways. Now let's see here. I'm going to go down a little bit more. Degree 2, smoothing, pressure, min and max. I'm going to go to the inputs here. I'm going to click on slimeweed 1. Scroll down a little bit. Okay. So we have a lot of different things in here, and I'm just going to look for something that we can play with right away. Like for instance, if I do a render, I see glow right here. So I'm going to do a render. And the glow is set to 0. Okay, there's no lighting in the scene. So I'm going to save that picture, or that image we took. Come up here to glow, and I'll put 0.1. And I'll do another test render. You can see that the glow is starting to kick in already. I'll save that one. I'll do something like 0.5 now in the glow. And I'll do a test render. And that looks pretty sweet. Okay, I could also do shader glow to 0.5, and let's see if that amplifies it. Ooh, wow, yeah, most definitely. So I could take the glow down to maybe 0.1 and the shader glow down to 0.1, and one might be a special effect and the other one might be another special effect or some type of coding in there or setting that can amplify the other. Okay, that's why I brought them both back down to 1, and then maybe I'll try them both at 2. Now if you're wondering how I can click in here and select just this one and skip all the stuff in the middle and select the other glow, oops, not the glow spread, I'll click the shader glow, hold down Control is how I did it, and I can click on the other one, skips everything in the middle. I can type in 0.25, do another test render, and it's pretty glowy, a little fantasy-like. So that's kind of cool. I could leave that for the moment. It's not going to hurt anything. But I'm going to go down a little further here, and I wanted to show you guys that some of the basic animation, which is going to be considered nonlinear animation, anytime you have effects or presets like that, you're not having to physically key all these intricate movements and stuff yourself. You're just able to change some of the settings, and Maya processes it for you, and then change the settings again, make them a bit stronger, like wind, for instance. A breeze would blow these, you know, and get them to move a little bit. A stronger wind would probably make them flop all over the place. So that's not something that we'd be able to change easily on the fly if we were hand keying it. But since it's like a simulation that Maya runs and calculates for us, we'd be able to change them a lot more easily. So I'm not sure what curl is. Let's see if we can kind of play with the curl. Alright, I did a little bit, I guess. Added a little weirdness in there. Maybe 0.25? I don't know. It looks like it gives a little body. Okay, I'm cool with that. Curl frequency. Whoa. That's pretty crazy. Okay. Anyhow, I can do something like that. And I'm going to come down here still. Keep going. And what I'm looking for is something with force. So here's uniform force. And here's turbulence. So these things are going to drive this, okay? If I were to play this right now, I can just hit play. And again, this is effects, so I would have to come to my settings here. Okay, right next to the little key, which is auto key. I want to make sure that the playback speed is play every frame. If you want it to play closer to real time, then drop this down and go to real time instead of free, so it plays closer to real time as possible. So if I hit play, you guys see that these are moving. It's processing. Maya's calculating the movement of these based off of turbulence. I'm going to hit stop, and I'll just show you that if I find that, where was that turbulence? That was that one right there, okay. Here's the turbulence speed and the actual turbulence itself, and how frequently the turbulence kicks up and changes direction. Okay, so there's a lot of stuff going on here. We also have gravity. We could reverse gravity. We can do a lot of different things with this stuff. But I'm just going to kind of play with the turbulence here. And there's a lot of things that you guys can play with yourselves. Just, again, don't get caught up in this. I would use these more as background objects. Or if you're going to have them go in your scene, what you might want to do is plant them tastefully and just kind of figure out some of these settings that are going to work for you for that scene and not spend too much time on it. So turbulence, I'm going to put this up to 1, and when I hit play, you're going to see that it's going to calculate a little bit differently. Now if I put it back to I'll put it to 0.25, something a little smaller. And I'll put the speed up though, to like 10. It's flopping around kind of crazy. Let's try 5. Oh, what about 1? Okay, so it looks as though there's a little stronger wind. I'll put 0.1 for the turbulence. There we go. Now we're getting a decent setting for that. I'm going to hit stop on the playback, rewind this thing, and I can move on here just a little bit to see if there's anything else that there is on here, like twig twists. We can see if that would do anything for us. That might have to run during simulation. Not too sure. But there is a lot of stuff on here to play with. I wanted to show that turbulence is some of the main ones that are going to allow us to work with getting this thing to move and act as though the wind is blowing a little more strongly and other things like that. So you'll see that there's like an endless supply of things here that you can change. Like the bud size, let's see what that is. This one probably doesn't have buds because I don't see anything like roses on here, but there might even be a bud creation on here that we just haven't found. So petals, widths, and you're going to see a lot of these things on here. Some of them may do some things to these, and some of them may not. And you're going to see a lot of the same ones for some of the trees and other paint effects that are in here. Okay, so you can make multiple ones of these, and you can have them process in your scene. And then when you render them out, if I let it play a little bit so we could see some of the movement of that, when you render it out, you're going to get this movement here, and you're also going to get the look of this. So if you're doing like a fantasy scene, or maybe it goes from like this really little basic thing to a fantasy scene, then that might work for you. Some of these also have the option of growing, so you can get this thing to grow out and animate the growing of this. And it's the same way as animating anything else here in Maya, and you may want to play with some of the settings, okay? So here are some of the gazillion settings that you can play with, and of course we can't go through these in one tutorial, so this is just a real basic tutorial showing you guys where to find this stuff, how to kind of look through them, and all that good stuff. Okay?